The United Nations has just issued 200 pages of a report by a panel of inquiry established last year by Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, and the conclusions are quite horrifying. According to this report, it says that the government of Sri Lanka may have indeed been responsible for crimes against humanity, war crimes, resulting in the deaths of, quote, tens of thousands in this final military offensive staged against the Tamil Tigers, the last-ditch days of the 25-year battle against the Tamil forces. Now, there were many hundreds of thousands of civilians caught in the crossfire here between these two forces. And the report says that despite the Sri Lankan government's declaration of zero civilian casualty pattern that they were going to adopt, that instead there were 3 consecutive no-fire zones which were shelled, that hospitals were attacked, other places where civilians were indeed told where to go. The Sri Lankan government has previously already said this report was fundamentally flawed, and the UN took days to release it, constantly waiting for Sri Lanka to respond. The UN wanted the Sri Lankan government point of view documented in this report, but so far, according to Secretary General Ban Ki-moon, he notes that the invitation is still available, but the government has still not responded. The government is promising a May Day rally that would be against the United Nations. There were very tense rallies outside UN headquarters when this investigation was announced. Now, the Tamil Tigers are also accused in the report of also being potential responsible for crimes against humanity, and there will be further investigations if Ban and the UN have their way, but they're going to need Sri Lanka's cooperation. The Secretary General is asking for Sri Lanka to conduct its own investigation to produce some accountability on this issue, but that doesn't appear likely at the moment. And of course, Anna, the UN issues this report at the end of the business day in New York, sort of past many media deadlines, the usual pattern when you've got a report in an organization, whether it's the Pentagon or whether it's in any other European capital or anywhere in the world, you want to dump the document out late in the day when there isn't time to analyze it all, and maybe they hope it gets buried. But on this issue, a lot of people are still going to be watching.
Richard, as you say, the Sri Lankan government has dismissed the report as fundamentally flawed. From my understanding, the UN boss, Ban Ki-moon, says he cannot order an international investigation. So considering all those factors, what is the next step?
Well, he talks about possibly another UN organization. It's unclear whether he's talking about the Security Council getting involved in this. There could be other actions, including an investigation into the UN's role. Ban Ki-moon, as Secretary General, received a storm of criticism in the final days of this military offensive for accepting the accusations when too many times the government view that there really was no harm being done to civilians. The Secretary General's own chef de cabinet, Vijay Nambiar, had gone there. The accusations are whether the UN responded promptly to this humanitarian disaster and took too much of the government's perspective. So the Secretary General says he's going to respond positively to the panel's recommendation for a review of the UN's action regarding the implementation of the humanitarian and protection mandates during the war in Sri Lanka, particularly the last stages.